I wonder your thoughts here. With 4 days to a government shutdown, are those the individuals who will prevent it from happening?
Look, I am very grateful everyone got together in the Oval Office. President Biden's leadership shining through, bringing people together. Some might remember he was the one who ended government shutdowns when he was Barack Obama's vice president. And I'll just say this, I really believe that we can tackle all of these challenges and we don't need them in one big bill. Yes, we need to stand by Democratic allies. Funding for Ukraine is really polarized, frankly, the House of Representatives. What we need to do on our border, it's mind-blowing that the Senate Republicans voted down a bill that they at one point largely agreed with and is meeting some of the concerns that the Biden administration has showcased around funding requests for the border. And it's just sad that we're constantly in these brinkmanship moments where we're going to potentially shut down the government during a time of extraordinary national security issues, as well as economic issues that are facing everyday Americans. Democracy is messy. We all know that. But I am standing by where I have been committed the entire time, delivering for the American people and delivering for the residents of Michigan.
Well, you mentioned trying to avoid a government shutdown. It's unclear if it's going to be minibus efforts or if it's going to be 4 separate bills that you have to vote on to avoid those partial shutdowns come midnight, really, on March 1st. Or if another continuing resolution may be needed. And there's also the question of whether or not conservative policy riders could be attached. It just seems very confusing what's going on here. But from your Democratic perspective, is there anything that you would not agree to keep the government open? Where are your red lines?
Well, look, we can't be held hostage by the most extreme members, the most conservative of conservative members of the Republican Party who oftentimes don't even agree with their own conference. And frankly, what they're talking about right now is shutting down the government. They're saying that that might be a good thing to have a partial government shutdown. And I wholeheartedly disagree. That, for me, is a red line. My money, not that I bet on my votes, but colloquially, my money is absolutely on just potentially buying more time with a continuing resolution. We've seen that now used several times over. I was really surprised that we left for this in-district work period. I was doing committee work. We didn't have a deal. Then a couple of days ago, we found out that talks have fallen apart. We rejiggered the schedule to come back midweek, all right, and we still don't know what we're coming back to. And look, people want clarity. The American people want transparency and consistency. They want a government that they can trust. I don't know how we do a partial government shutdown when we do have these national security issues hanging over us. And frankly, when we haven't reauthorized our farm bill and we've got agencies that are tied to our agricultural sector, tied to our manufacturing sector, I wholeheartedly endorse what you all were talking about in the previous segment with President Biden saying that funding for Ukraine invests in our manufacturing economy. I was just with a defense manufacturer here in my district, Navistar Defense in Madison Heights, just yesterday, and they showed me that. Proof is in the pudding that bill for Ukraine funding bolsters American jobs and puts our manufacturers at work, puts American innovation on play for the world to see. And so let's get that done. Let's move forward. There are other issues we need to tackle. If we're going to talk about domestic issues, I'm in a bipartisan paid leave working group. Let's get that done. Let's talk about full funding for special education in the United States of America, which has been a 50-year unfunded mandate that needs to get done, that's strangling the schools that I'm so proud to work with and represent here in Oakland County, Michigan. And let's continue to build off the success of the CHIPS and Science Law that we passed last term in Congress and do things like that for critical minerals, rare earth minerals, critical materials that are so important to our manufacturing base. We know we can't be overly reliant on adversarial nations, so let's build our supply chain. There's a lot to do, but we've just been stuck, as we have been this entire term, in Groundhog Day, reliving and repeating the same thing over and over again.
I'd say happy Groundhog Day, but it's primary day for you, Congresswoman, in the state of Michigan. And part of the storyline has been not so focused on the Republican contest, but some opposition that Joe Biden has been facing in Blue Michigan by Arab and Muslim American voters over his policies in Israel and Gaza. It's even prompted this uncommitted movement that your Democratic colleague, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, has been pushing. She voted today, and not for President Biden. She delivered a message, Congresswoman. Here's what she said.
I was proud today to walk in and pull a Democratic ballot and vote uncommitted. We must protect our democracy. We must make sure that our government is about us, about the people. When 74% of Democrats in Michigan support a ceasefire, yet President Biden is not hearing us. This is the way we can use our democracy to say, listen to Michigan.
Congresswoman Stevens, are you hearing this on the ground? And would a ceasefire announcement that the president says could come by Monday change that feeling?
Well, look, I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm here in a suburban district, Oakland County, Michigan. I've been working alongside Democrats since the end of last year, particularly heading into our off-year elections. And this is somewhat of a newfound movement. It's become popularized in the last couple of weeks, week or so. I proudly voted today for President Biden. I'm very committed to his agenda and what we're doing. And frankly, the Democrats who I've been working alongside, the canvases I've been kicking off, the phone banks, the rallies have actually been showing that support for him. Now, it's not to say that there aren't some people who are voting uncommitted. I have read that. I've gotten reports from colleagues. Obviously, you just played the video of a colleague of mine who's voted uncommitted. And we're going to have to see what unfolds tonight. There's not really polling. This came up again kind of late, this movement to vote uncommitted for pressuring the president around his Middle Eastern policy and approach. And it's a nuanced conversation as well in terms of where Biden has been leading and working on these issues. We're going to stand by democracy. We're not going to abandon a U.S.-Israel relationship. We are also going to feel and recognize the pain of our Muslim community and our Palestinian American community that has really been doubled over by the loss of life as a result of Hamas's unprovoked attack on Israel that was brutal and inhumane. So this nuance is playing out in real time. It's on people's phone screens. It's in our news. It's deeply painful. Yep. And what we have is a president who has been leading with grace, compassion, and understanding. And when he says that he thinks that we're going to see a pause in fighting so that we can release the hostages, that will be a resounding day. I'm the co-chair of the hostage task force in the Congress alongside French Hill from Arkansas. This is an unbelievable scenario. So that's where we're moving towards, folks.